My wife changed into a completely different person from the one I married. What do I do now?
Sucks to be me. I married a chameleon.
So with that lovely note, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Muslim Marriage Podcast, where we show you how to find and build a healthy marriage as a Muslim. I'm Zahra Hassan.
And I'm AJ, and we've been married for 3.5 years. And if you like our videos, please comment and subscribe. Ask your questions below, and you may feature in one of our future episodes.
And as a thank you, I will post a link for my Healthy Marriage Habits Guide in the description. That brings us to the question. So this week, it is coming from the Muslim Marriage subreddit, and it is a brother. He is asking. He says, my wife changed after marriage. The brother says, I'm a 23-year-old male, and my wife is a 21-year-old female. We've been married for almost 2 years now. At the beginning of our relationship, she was kind, sweet, and thoughtful in both her words and actions. I understand that the relationships evolve beyond the honeymoon phase and things can dip a bit over time, but the level of decline and the duration of it has left me feeling exhausted. My wife constantly asks questions, which I don't mind, and I always explain things patiently, sometimes even days later if needed. But when the roles are reversed and I ask her to clarify something more than once, she reacts with a dismissive attitude, saying things like, I already explained it. Even when I try to approach her politely saying, I just want to clarify, she gets bothered and rude, so I often end up dropping it. It's just not worth the conflict. In disagreements, it's always her way or the highway. She cusses, sometimes directly at me, though I shut it down when it happens, telling her I won't continue the conversation if she talks to me that way. She didn't used to be like this, but this started when she began working a job a while back and playing video games with friends who constantly curse. I even suggested that she cut ties with those friends because of their influence on her, but nothing has changed and she no longer works, but the behavior has stuck. When I come home after a long day at work, the apartment often smells like cat poop. There's no food prepared, and she's usually sitting on the bed with her iPad and her cat. This is especially frustrating because I've told her before that having the cat in the bedroom is a deal breaker for me many times. If I make food for myself, she gets upset that I didn't make enough for her, even though in the last 6 months she has made food for me about 10 times because she constantly eats out. I feel mentally drained. Every conversation seems to turn into a combative argument. I've tried expressing this to her, but it feels like I'm doing everything, working, cooking, cleaning, shopping, and handling the housework, while she does little to contribute. I've also noticed that I consistently show her more love and affection than she shows me, and the imbalance is wearing me down. Looking back, I think I noticed some of these signs before marriage. Her brother told me she's argumentative, and even her dad mentioned it. Still, I took on this responsibility and I wanted to try to fix things. We're young, and I recognize that these are relatively small issues to big issues in the grand scheme of things. I'm not excited to jump to divorce, but I also don't want to waste my time with someone who isn't the right partner for me. I want a relationship where love and respect are mutual and balanced, and I'll do absolutely anything and everything possible to make that happen. I'm willing to throw the garbage out the same day if need be. I don't wait for Thursday. I'd appreciate any advice on how to handle the situation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
2 things. First of all, when he said that the apartment constantly smells like cat poop, I was very worried until he mentioned that they owned a cat. And then I was relieved. And second of all, for you men out there, how dare you? How dare you expect your wife not to change after marriage? Like, hello? You expect her to just wear the wedding dress for the rest of her life? No, she has to change. And I expect you to change too.
Oh, okay. But this much? Like this to this degree? Because he's saying that he expects
was
change.
he talking about like clothing or?
Oh, you meant clothes.
Like personality?
You meant changing out of her clothes.
Well, yeah, wedding clothes.
Okay.
Right? He said my wife changed. And that's a problem.
I mean, it's been 2 years.
Yeah, I don't get it, you know?
Maybe that's where the cat poop smell comes from.
Even I changed.
Okay.
You know?
So assuming he doesn't mean clothes and that he might mean personality on that off chance, just hypothetically.
Yeah.
Then what do you think about his situation?
I mean, okay, so it's seems like he was given ample warning about that.
Yeah.
Right. The parents, the father and the brother said, "Hey, watch out. She's very argumentative."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Which is good on them. Good on them, because that's what they're supposed to do. Is they're supposed to give the potential suitor fair warning, you know?
Yeah.
If there's anything about the potential wife that requires fair warning.
Yes. Were you warned about me?
No.
No?
No.
No one said anything?
People didn't think there was anything to warn about.
I'm so glad.
Truth be told.
My family can keep secrets. It's good.
There's no secrets to be kept. There's no negatives that I've witnessed about you.
I appreciate that.
That are deal breakers.
Oh, I appreciate that. I was just being silly. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the family has warned him, but
like, you are very late.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
But no one needed to warn me about that. That was self-evident.
I told you from the beginning I'm going to be late everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were supposed to film this podcast 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
This is the earliest I could get here.
Yeah.
Okay. So his family warned him, right? But you're right. His family did warn him. But he's 23 years old now, and they've been married for 2 years. And I'm assuming, let's say he spoke to his family like 6 months to a year before even they got married. So he was maybe 21, 20. That's very young.
Yeah.
21 and 20-year-olds believe that things can change.
Yeah.
So this is
ironically enough.
Yes.
They think I can change her.
Yeah. He had the best intentions.
Why did she change?
he had the best intentions.
Yeah.
But if we also do the math on her end, right? Right now she's 21. That meant that she was 19 when she was getting married, maybe 18, 19 years old.
Yeah.
That's very young.
In this day and age,
In this day and age, it's very young. So honestly, just the ages by themselves give me a pretty good picture of what's going on. But if we put all of that context aside, this brother is now in this situation where he's married to his wife, and he's in a position where he feels really taken advantage of, which is what I would describe that he's trying to articulate. And that he is contributing a lot more than what is his share. This is an extremely common situation, both for clients who come to me who are husbands and for wives, right? This is extremely common. So how do we help this young man?
Good question. The wife needs a good sit down heart to heart, not with the husband, because he's tried that already.
Okay.
Conceptually speaking, I think that it has to do with getting the family involved, something like that, you know?
Yeah.
If you were to get the family involved, it might wake her up.
So you're saying that just this needs to be a conversation with her in order to get her to change.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Honestly, if the young man had approached me as a client, my first question would be, I would have a lot of questions to get a lot more context.
Primarily,
yeah.
Who are you and why are you in a room?
Let's start there.
Yeah.
But once all of that's settled, and the police have been informed and everything's calm again.
Yeah.
My next question would be to the wife, just to try to do a basic assessment. Maybe maybe something's going on with her because she is no longer working. And she's now at home all the time in the same position, right? Where she's either lying on the bed or she is playing video games. So in one of two physical positions.
Yeah.
And is not really taking care of her home. And I would bet probably not taking care of herself. All of this sounds like maybe depression.
Could be. It could be.
Yeah.
It could also be like maybe because he said the problem started working when she started working.
Yeah.
Like they started when she started working and playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
It could be that perhaps when she started working, something in her psyche may have unlocked, and she may have lost respect for him in some way.
That it could be, but I would bet that it's probably some combination of the fact that she's getting married so young, right? Marriage is not something small. It's a really big life change, and it requires you to have a really good foundation. I always say this because it's important. It requires for you to have a really good foundation in who you are and knowing who you are and what you want, and to have like those tent poles of your life, of your career, of a lot of your goals already in place, or at least on their way to being in place, before you get married. Because it's hard to figure out within the context of being somebody's wife, right? Or maybe even somebody's mother. So I think it could be that the big change of being married, the repeated change of what's going on with work, or maybe no external changes at all, right? Because depression doesn't need always an external trigger. First thing that I would do is with this couple, if I sat down with them, is I would advise her go talk to her doctor.
Yeah.
And do an assessment and make sure that there isn't something that's going on there in terms of depression, because that's at least rule that out. So let's say we rule that out and the doctor says that, okay, no, there's no depression going on here, and there's no real mental health issues in terms of mood disorders or anxiety or things like that. She's good to go. Okay, so then now what does that mean?
It means that there's something that had happened either in the household or at work or with her friends online that changed her attitude, or that was her attitude from the beginning, but she was hiding it.
Those are the two options. But given that they've been married for 2 years, right? 2 years is
usually much longer than the honeymoon phase.
Yeah. Do you remember after the honeymoon phase, around the 2-year mark, is when people start going into the power struggle phase. But because of the extent of change, the way that he's described it, right? It's like a 180 from the person who he was used to being married to in the beginning, and now it's a 180 version of a whole different person. And a lot of what he's describing sounds like she has a lot less patience for him, and probably a lot less respect for him.
Yeah.
And that would explain a lot of the things that are going on inside the home. So it would require a sit down between him and her, right, with somebody who is a coach or a counselor, who's equipped to have this conversation with them and try to understand what's going on. Like, what is it what happened in that 2 years, to try to get a timeline of what their relationship was like and at what point things changed, and then to get her perspective of what's different for you. Yeah, because from a place that is non-judgmental, right? So this is the type of conversation I have, whether it's the husband or the wife who's the one who has changed. It's just to create a safe space that is non-judgmental, where we can start to unpack and really open and explore ideas that maybe she hasn't explored within herself, because I bet a lot of what she's doing is happening in the subconscious plane, because she's just on video games and on the iPad. Those are both numbing, right? Those are both numbing agents.
Yeah.
So she's in the subconscious plane and just coping and numbing something.
Yeah.
Which we need to figure out what it is. So first thing I would say to the husband, if by some miracle, brother, you recognize the question and you're listening, is that it's very unlikely this is something she's doing to you. Right? It's very unlikely that...
Deep.
Oh, I appreciate that. What is it? What do they say? Clock it? Clock it. Yeah, there you go. Clock it. I don't know. I'm learning new things all the time from my sister. But it could be, this is not something that she's doing to you, right? This is likely would have happened regardless of who she was married to. Because sometimes when we get into these patterns with our spouses, it really feels like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you antagonizing me? Right?
Yeah.
But the situation that he's described, it sounds like she's in a rut. Right?
Yeah.
She's in a rut. I doubt she's aware of it, or that she's admitted to herself. And I doubt that she knows why she's in a rut. Maybe she does, but most people honestly don't until you sit down and have that conversation with them. Okay, so the advice for this brother would be, to sit down and have a...
I lost track. Essentially what had happened was I had thought of a joke a couple sentences back, and I'm having a hard time focusing. So I just gotta get it out.
Okay.
Right. So you were talking about naan, right? Like the pastry.
Literally never.
Yeah, naan.
Okay.
Right. So we have, imagine a cooking contest where the people are making naans, right? And the judges are judging the naans.
Oh.
Ironically, the judges are non-judgmental.
I was trying to find when I had said that. They're non-judgmental?
Yeah.
I want to be a part of that contest. Naan is delicious.
Yeah. The judging phase never finishes.
Yeah.
It's just against their nature.
Just continue.
Because they're non-judgmental, so they can't judge the naans.
It's terrible. I hated that. I both hated that and I loved that at the same time. It's weird. Yeah, so the advice for this brother or people who are in similar situations, step one would be to sit down and have a conversation with your spouse, an honest conversation, to try to have this conversation at a time when she's calm, you know, in a relatively good mood and you're in a good mood, and try to explain that, you know, this is not coming from any place of judgment, and to just describe what you've been seeing from her without accusing her. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So just say that it looks to me like I could be completely wrong, but from over here, it looks to me that you've been having a hard time. Is that, like, would you agree with that? And then can you tell me a little bit about what's been going on for you on your end?
The way he should not ask that question is, it looks to me like you're having a hard time. Can you clarify this for me? Because she does not like that question.
Because why?
Because she says, I explained this to you already.
Oh, yeah, she literally did. Okay, yeah, you're right. In the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so no clarifications.
Yeah.
But we can just to have a conversation when you say, it looks like you're having a hard time. You know, am I completely off? And she'll say, no, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. And then you can say, okay, all right. But I can't help but notice, right, that before it seemed like, you know, that there were things that you wanted to do, that you wanted to accomplish, and you were working really hard towards those things. And I was very proud of you for I still am, but I was very proud of you on watching you go get those things that you wanted to get.
Yeah.
But right now, it seems like those things are slipping away, right?
There's a slight icebreaker you can add to that, by the way, to break down her defenses. When you ask her, what's up? And she says, no, I'm fine. You, as a guy, would say, well, yeah, I can tell you're fine. You're very attractive, but that's not the issue here.
Okay.
You know?
So I would recommend...
And then that would crack a smile. And she'd be like, ooh la la. And then you would say, tell me what's wrong with you, though. Okay. What is your problem?
Oh.
You know?
All right.
And you grab her by the shoulders, and you just shake her a bit violently. Point towards the shovel by the wall.
Oh.
And you just say, hey.
It's decision time.
Let's calm down. I got a little bit too heated there. I'm going to take a step back.
Yeah.
And you just tell me what's going on. What's the problem? And then she would say, at this point, it's you. And then that's where
because it is at that point it is you.
Yeah.
But I would recommend, please don't do any of that. None of that.
Except for the first part.
Even the first part. But that's why I wanted to say it. The first part.
Yeah, you're fine. I could see that.
That part would work on me because I know you, right? But because there's already, when you have a history of resentment building, bilaterally on both sides, and you have this possibly even contempt that is starting to build because she doesn't really respect him anymore.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to joke in that moment. You want to keep the seriousness of a conversation.
Yeah.
You want to keep the seriousness of the conversation because in order to really establish that this is something that really is important to me.
Serious question. Legitimate question.
Yeah.
Do you think if he displays his strength, she might respect him more?
No.
Like, if she's losing respect for him and he does, like, an amazing feat of strength, you know?
That changes nothing.
What would that do?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't take you at your word for it.
Okay. All right. No problem. But the reason why it wouldn't do anything, right? That's an interesting question. You're asking how can he restore her respect for him?
Yeah.
It likely, I would have to ask her more questions.
Yeah.
But based on his description, just on these 2 paragraphs, I suspect that it doesn't have much to do with him.
Oh.
It doesn't have anything to do with him.
That's very disheartening to hear.
Yeah, which is why this is you need that what which is why you need to have the conversation then in order to create a safe space where she can start to be a little bit introspective and ask these questions of herself of, wait, is something going on with me? Because I'm sure in her mind all her problems are related to him, right? I'm sure that's what's going on in her mind, because that's what we tend to do when we are numbing and we're not paying attention to the reality of what it is that actually hurts within us. What is this core wound? What is this fear? What is this pain, right? And rather than feeling the pain and opening it up and taking a look, we ignore it, deny that it exists, and blame the people around us. That's just that's what we do as human beings. So in order to start to have that conversation with the end, okay, so what is the point of this conversation? The point of this conversation is to see if she would agree going to a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? That's step 1. And seeing whether or not there are mental health issues at play. And if it turns out that there aren't mental health issues at play, or honestly, even if they are and they would like to continue and to stay married, then the next step would be to see whether or not she's open to counseling or to coaching, to have a professional sit down and help create a space where they can have these conversations, which I think are beyond their pay grade. In my opinion, like these are very hard conversations to have for anyone, let alone 20 somebody who's 23 and 21. Right? I think they need help. So how to have that conversation in order to get her to see whether or not she'll agree to go to the doctor? Exactly what I said, where you come from a calm place, the both of you are very calm, nobody's joking, and you just come from a loving place out of concern, right? So not you did this or you didn't do this, none of that. No accusations, just concern, right? As if you're concerned about your child or your sister or somebody that you are automatically concerned about, right? A parent, etc. So that same place of concern where you come and sit down with her and say, it looks to me like you've been having a hard time. I could be completely wrong, but that's what it looks like for me. And most likely she's going to push back against that and say, no, everything's fine. I don't know what you're talking about. Then you can just press just a little bit and say, no, all right, let me just tell you what I see, right? From my end, I was, like we said before, since I've known you, you've been this wonderful person who's a go-getter, who's outgoing, you spend time with your friends out. You can list the things that she used to do that indicated that she was happier. And then contrast that with saying, and honestly, now I don't see you really doing those things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And and if you went through a time like that, you can relate to her and say something like, I remember when I went through a similar time period, right? For me, when I was struggling, I would also just stop doing the things that I really like to do, and try and see whether or not she can relate. If she really pushes back on that or again and again, let it go, let the word sit, right? And then try again later after a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
So the hardest conversations are usually ones that you're going to have multiple times, right? 2 times, 3 times, right? Not 10 times, but like 2, 3, 4 times. It's normal. The big conversations, you're going to have them multiple times. So you just let it go, let it sit for a bit, and then come back and try again. And hopefully if she sees and she feels that you're saying this out of concern, legitimate concern, That ideally she would open up and say, maybe I haven't been as happy as I used to be.
Yeah.
And then you can suggest to her and just say, I completely understand. That makes perfect sense. How would you feel about going to see Dr. So-and-so?
That would be okay with me.
Well, yeah, right? That would be the most ideal answer.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then just go see Dr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
And after that, see if she'd be open to coaching and counseling. So that would be the pathway that I would suggest for this couple. Right? And if anyone who is listening is in a similar situation, that would be the advice that I give. If you ever see a drastic change in your spouse from the way that you've known them, so if you've known them for a period of years, and suddenly there's this really big change in their personality, a big shift from where they used to be, first questions in your mind are, could it be something medical?
Yeah.
Yeah, could it be something medical? Unless something, I'm assuming nothing big has happened in your relationship. I'm assuming there wasn't any huge obvious marker.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for example, the cheating happened and now they're very upset. I mean, that's clear.
AKA a bombshell moment.
There you go. So there's a clear before and after, right? So barring anything obvious happening in the relationship and things have just been relatively status quo, but your partner's personality seems to be changing, step one is to go see a doctor.
It was such a good joke.
Was it?
It flew under the radar.
It did.
Because you said there's cheating, and I said AKA a bombshell moment.
Why is that?
What do you mean?
What is cheating? I don't understand the relationship between the two words.
Cheating and bombshell?
Yeah.
Bombshell, colloquially, is a term used for someone who's extremely attractive, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, AKA a bombshell moment. So if someone's going to go cheat on someone, you would think that they would try to cheat on someone that's extremely attractive.
Very interesting.
Obviously less attractive than their wife, because there's no one out there, someone that tries to get as close to it, which in relative terms is like a 6 out of 10.
Okay, all right, saved.
Got there.
Yeah, you did. You saved. I was concerned, but then we got there. So there's that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's clear. Is there anything we're missing that we haven't answered for the brother's question?
No, that was good. I mean, like, if he has any further questions, if he seems to be watching this, or if he happens to be watching this,
yes,
shout out, In
a world of
play video games with her too, bro. Like, if she plays video games, try to communicate with her that way, Like, play the video games with her and then see if you guys can have your talks at that time when you guys are less focused on each other and more focused on the game.
See, I would normally agree with you, right? But so when he plays a video game, it'll be different from why she's playing a video game. For her, I'm assuming it would be a numbing agent, right? It's a coping agent.
Yeah.
So when somebody is in that state where they're coping and they're numbing, they're not calm. They're not calm. And to engage with them in the numbing or coping agent, I wouldn't recommend it. Right? I would formally take her away. Like, I would ask her to come sit in a different position from the two places where she's normally sitting, right? Not from the bed.
Do we know if it's a numbing agent?
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, because he said that's all she's doing all day.
Well, yeah, I mean, people do that all day, but not for, like, numbing. People do that for fun.
Yeah, it's mostly numbing, especially because she didn't used to do this, and now this is what she does.
She didn't used to work.
This is true.
I think she used to play video games beforehand, right? Because people don't just randomly pick up video games, I think.
That's true, but also within the larger context, right? Yeah. Overall context. So the video games are one of the things that suggests that within that context, it's probably a numbing agent.
Yeah.
Right? So we all have our coping mechanisms, right? We all like, I sit down and rewatch The Office. That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do when I'm numbing. So we all have our comfort ways or to numb ourselves away from the painful things that we're trying to avoid. So when she's in that state of trying to avoid something painful, conversation is not going to be helpful. And to engage with the numbing agent, I don't know, just intuitively, I wouldn't recommend it.
Frankly, I don't have any numbing agent activities or anything like that, simply because I can't seem to find anesthesia over the counter.
Very interesting. All right. So
Yeah.
on that lovely, lovely note, I think we've covered all of his questions.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
So if you've made it this far in this episode, Jazaa K'Allah Khayr, we really appreciate you. We appreciate all of you choosing to spend your time with us. If you are on Spotify, you'll notice that the podcast is still on Spotify. We assumed when we made our announcement that you can just remove it just like you can from any other platform, but apparently it's a whole thing that we now we're going to have to reach out to Spotify themselves to remove our podcast from the platform.
Turns out it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Every time that we upload our episode to all the other platforms, it automatically also goes to Spotify just because of
it's
the
a whole thing.
Yeah, so we can't even stop new episodes from going up. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us.
I mean,
we'll keep you guys updated, inshallah. And pretty soon, hopefully, we're hoping this week we'll be able to get it off of the platform.
It's a whole thing.
Okay. I think they got that. Was it a whole thing?
It's a whole thing.
All right. And finally, I know I get this question a lot from people in the DMs, but I do offer marriage coaching to clients. So I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach. So marriage coaching to clients. If that's something that you wanted to know about, I'll leave a link in the description for our website where you can find more information.
And I offer marriage couching.
Marriage couch. What does that mean?
I just sit on the couch.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
For other, like on their couch?
No, I'm married.
Oh.
And I'm sitting on couches.
Very interesting.
And I teach people how to do that.
There's a whole. Do you have a website?
No.
Okay.
It's very simple. I'm giving it away for free. All right, y'all. First step, get married. Second step, find a couch. Third step, sit on the couch.
All right.
Congratulations. Now you're marriage couching like a pro.
That's okay. That's very different from what, it's not that different from what I do.
It's a very low bar of entry.
Very interesting. That bar is the couch.
You don't even have to own the couch, honestly. You could just go under a bridge somewhere.
Okay, so enough couching jokes?
Highway bridge or something. I don't know. There are couches out in the wild.
All right.
It's a whole thing.
There's a sofa joke in there, but I'm going to let it go. But so Jazaa K'Allah Khayr. Again, if you made it this far, we wish you a wonderful weekend, inshallah, and we will see you in the next episode. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.